Yeah, the working girls of our time. At a time where you have to isolate yourself, a lot of people are working at their homes, including the women, some of which already got to work on the internet. And for the purpose of this video, we're gonna call them working e-girls. And we're not gonna be talking about the PG kind. Thanks to YouTube demonetizing videos left and right, I have to find the right words to describe this incredibly alluring and arousing line of work. But this video is probably gonna be demonetized anyway, so if you want to support this channel, you can do so by checking the links down below. Anyway, what I meant by PG working e-girls are the e-girls that work on the internet through something more TV friendly, like playing video games and e-begging on the internet before delivering a terrible apology. I suppose I can also count the VTubers as PG working e-girls, even with all of that gratuitous English and blatant swearing. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about the R-rated working e-girls. I'm gonna be talking about those hard-working R-rated e-girls that work their hardest in these quarrelsome times by sharing their most sensitive body parts for the pleasure of those who are willing to spend a couple of bucks on them. And this brings us to OnlyFans. OnlyFans is one of those websites that I find very interesting. It's not because of the content. I personally could get myself some free exposed body parts even on the most surface level of the internet, and I generally prefer if those free exposed body parts are drawn instead of recorded. There's a lot more imagination and creativity in the realms of drawn artworks, and unfortunately the OnlyFans ladies could only offer so much, which means that I don't have to allocate my precious financial woes into the wallets of these arousing ladies blessed with body parts that are suggestive enough to fool the nearest simpletons. I simply allocate them to the artists who deserve to be tormented by my wildest fantasies. Now, I find OnlyFans interesting because of the amount of hooplas that it generates with the right people having an account and joining in. Now, this video isn't gonna be talking about weeks-old hoopla that everyone has been talking about concerning internet celebrities whose actions divide the community more than any discussion of politics that I'm seeing on the interwebs. This video is gonna be talking about a nobody who turned into a somebody because BuzzFeed decided that her story is something that is worth sharing into the world. And BuzzFeed really wants to tell this story because it is an unjust discrimination towards all of the hard-working e-girls out there. How dare they commit such heinous acts like taking pictures of their incredibly arousing body parts and limiting those pictures to those who provide them with financial benefits. They clearly should have just given them for free. I kid, of course. Personally, I couldn't find myself to be that concerned about people's activities on the internet, especially the activities of all the R-rated working e-girls on the internet. If you dare to expose your most sensitive body parts into the world just for a couple of bucks, especially during the turbulent times that we're in right now, as long as you're not harming anybody, I don't think it's a cause of concern. It's less of a libertarian take and more of an apathetic take because I really have better things to care about than what R-rated e-girls do on their free time. What I do care about are the lies that people spread, and in this OnlyFans story, it's a lie by obfuscation, which is definitely expected of BuzzFeed. So let me tell you the story of Kirsten Vaughn, a 24-year-old former mechanic of a Honda dealership who got fired from her job because she dares to film amateurly made suggestive videos on her OnlyFans account. Now, having an incredibly suggestive and arousing job while having another safer, less suggestive job would be a cause of concern, especially if her safe job necessitates her to not have a job that is arousing and suggestive in nature. It reminds me of that time where someone who worked at the most family-friendly company also worked in the sidelines as a, let's just say, not so family-friendly line of work. Going back to our former mechanic, unfortunately she made several incredibly foolish errors that would cost the loss of her job, something that BuzzFeed decides not to focus on in order to push the discrimination agenda. In her bright mind, Vaughn decided to make a foolish decision of mentioning her account in her safe Instagram stories that are witnessed by her own co-workers when they proceed to see her arousing pictures at work while also harassing her and her alluring body parts. BuzzFeed found injustice in this incident. Instead of punishing the co-workers for harassing her, management decided to blame her for making the OnlyFans account. Cue the sound of injustice summoning all the false saviors of women who at this point in time will definitely defend the maiden from the male-dominated society who dares to blame her for such grave and foolish errors. As I said before, BuzzFeed publishes this story to push push the agenda that the world is not very friendly to all the R-rated working e-girls out there. But allow me to elaborate why it isn't really the society's fault, and it's more the fault of the girl in question. First off, maybe it's just my personal sense of social contract, or maybe it's just how I use my Instagram in general, albeit very rarely, but I find genuine amazement of women who are capable of sharing their incredibly unsafe job to their family and friends on Instagram. I can't imagine having the nerve to tell them that you have a job that allows them and many other people to see your most sensitive body parts. Either you have no sense of embarrassment and you are really that open about your unsafe job, or you shared that and not expecting everyone to see, which is very foolish of you. Basically what I'm saying is, this could have been a little bit more discreet. Now that your coworkers know the fact that you are sharing suggestive pictures on the internet, it's only a matter of time before someone rats you out to the boss, who clearly doesn't like it when one of their employees representing the company is using company time and company shirt to post suggestive pictures on the internet. Oh, yes, by the way, she also made the fatal mistake of associating herself with the company that she worked with by posting those pictures on company time and while wearing company clothings. Something that BuzzFeed did mention, but they didn't put it up front and center. So let me summarize this for you, ladies and gentlemen. She is posting incredibly arousing and suggestive pictures on her OnlyFans account, shared the fact that she has an OnlyFans account in her Instagram stories, presumably followed by a lot of her coworkers and maybe even some of her family members, and she also used her work time and company clothings to post such suggestive pictures. Yes, I cannot imagine why this poor woman got fired from her safe job. Truly an injustice on this male-dominated society. Now here's the thing, she actually got fired in mid-February, but it's not until she made her story viral recently that BuzzFeed decided to take a stab on the story. An opportunity to own all of those disgusting men. The entire story shifts from an injustice to one woman to an injustice to all of those hardworking e-girls. And again, we're not talking about the PG kind. It is an injustice because eventually your best friends and your worst enemies all eventually find out that you've done such incredibly arousing and revealing works. Personally, I know a couple of acquaintances who are in the line of work of R-rated working e-girls, and as I stated previously, I do not give a rat's bum about their escapades. As far as I'm concerned, it's their business, and if it makes them happy, then there's really nothing wrong about it. I do have 2 points though. The first point that I like to make is that you need to be able to work smart, not hard. And the second one is as illustrated by the article. You need to understand the consequences of doing such revealing works, such as how your best friends, your worst enemies, or even your family members could find out about your escapades and harass you for doing so. Funny thing is, I did a video a while ago about how cartoonists who did incredibly suggestive works in the past got cancelled by the Twitter sphere for their incredibly suggestive works in the past. I too find that to be a really odd reason for canceling someone, considering that pretty much a lot of people on the animation industry, both the East and the West, have done some form of incredibly suggestive and arousing works before. And I'd say the same thing applies here. I don't think any of their value as a human being is immediately degraded solely because they are pursuing a career in more suggestive works. I can even understand why some women would like to pursue a career in this field. The real issue here is their other actions surrounding that career that defines them. The real issue is the actions that they did during the career. I don't have a problem with working as a chef. I don't have a problem with the dish. I have a problem with how they cook their foods. I don't think it's wise to share the fact that you are pursuing a more revealing line of work into your family and friends who are either really interested to see you wide open or really want you to close them. I also think it's not very wise to share your most sensitive bits while both wearing clothing that represent the company that you work for and doing all of those work, even if you try your best to hide them from everyone. This entire hoopla could have been handled a lot better, and BuzzFeed could have not posted the story without a guzzling worship towards all of those working girls, all the genuinely good and honest working girls who unfortunately got a bad rep thanks to the not so good and honest ones. If you are one of those people who are pro working girls, both PG and R, it would have been a lot wiser if you also acknowledged their flaws and criticized them in the areas that deserve criticism so that other working girls can learn from their mistake and not repeat them so that they can keep their work, especially at the time where people are really needing work. Otherwise, all you're doing right here is to pretend that they're doing nothing wrong purely because they're working girls, and that's neither responsible nor constructive to the entire discussion. But what do I expect from BuzzFeed these days? You will, however, expect me to tell you to like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed them, and support this channel through the links down below. Now, if you'll excuse me, this story of an R-rated girl mechanic makes me want to indulge myself in a drawn version.